Hello and welcome to another edition of Issues with Jide. Here we'll talk about actions and inactions of those who shape our political and national landscape and how these impact us positively or otherwise. I'm Ibrahim Shita. Today on the show, outrage over 252 million naira yearly pay of Nigerian senators. In the course of the program, we'll take your questions, but first, subscribe to our YouTube channel and drop your questions in the comment section. It's very important to mention that we can only read comments with human names and the ones based on the subject matter. I have joining me via Zoom the maestro himself, Babajide Kolade-Otitoju. Good to see you again, BKO.
Welcome back, Ibrahim. Thank you for doing this with me today.
And let me say congratulations to you and your family on the occasion of the presentation of staff of office by the Kogi State Governor to the first class king of Ekeriade, who happens to be your dad.
Thank you, Ibrahim. We are grateful to the Almighty for His mercies, and we are also grateful to the governor for counting my dad worthy of the presentation of staff of office right inside the government house of Kogi State. To have given him, to have presented the staff of office to him singularly is an honor that we will cherish for the rest of our lives.
Absolutely. Congratulations. All right, so let's get right into the matter, the issues for today, or issue particularly. Given the recent revelation by Senator Abdurrahman Kawu Sumaila that he earns 21 million naira in allowances every month, apart from his monthly salary of about 1 million naira, do you think the Senate leadership should come clean on the true nature of their compensation structure?
Yes, I think they should come clean, and if they are really patriotic, they should slash their monthly pay. All the lies about their salaries must stop. The Revenue Mobilization and Fiscal Commission has come out to say that a senator earns in salary 1,063,866 naira. We all know that senators earn much more than that. We know that the Revenue Mobilization and Fiscal Commission is being economical with the truth. We've always known that, yes, that commission fixes the salaries of public workers, including political office holders. But we know that the National Assembly doesn't particularly earn anything extortionate, anything humongous based on the Revenue Mobilization and Fiscal Commission's table. But the devil has always been in the allowances that these individuals pay to themselves. And they've always kept information about their take-home pay close to their chest. They behave very much like cultists who would do their best to ensure that people do not know how much they earn and all that. But recall that Senator Shehu Sani back then made that revelation that he was earning 13.5 million naira a month. We had occasions in the past when we interviewed some senators and we wanted them to validate or refuse to validate what Senator Shehu Sani said. They declined because they didn't want to be in hot water with the leadership of the National Assembly. But in a season of abject poverty, in a season of deprivation, at a time when Nigerians are being told to tighten up their belts, when Nigerians are being told to sacrifice so that our country can bounce back economically, The sacrifice is not going round. And this is the quarrel that Nigerians have with our political leaders. And when I talk about political leaders, of course, House of Reps members, National Assembly members, State Assembly members, senators are part of political leaders. So they do not want us to know how much they earn. But a senator from Kano, Kawu Sumaila, who used to be a presidential legislative aide, has come out to say that he earns about 21 million naira a month as a senator of the Federal Republic. The most shameful part of this whole episode was to see the Senate spokesman coming out and trying to defend the indefensible. There is no need to embark on an inglorious voyage of trying to defend the indefensible. Nigerians know that that senator couldn't have lied against himself. Nigerians know that the senator knew what he was doing, he knew what he was saying. How do you explain a situation in which you call something running costs and it gets paid directly into the account, the private account of the senator or the House of Reps member? Yes, they are required to retire what is paid to them. But everyone knows that this is the easiest thing to do. And the so-called running costs does not include the salaries of legislative aides. Their salaries are paid differently and paid to them. But this one gets paid directly into the accounts of lawmakers, and they use it the way they deem fit. This has been their take-home pay for years. So what we are even seeing is a situation in which if we felt outraged, if Nigerians felt outraged by Senator Shehu Sani's revelation that he was being paid 13.5 million. So we'll see that in close to 8 years, that's 13.5 million, 5 million per month has snowballed into 21 million a month, from 13.5 million to 21 million a month. So with the size of the Nigerian budget increasing, the National Assembly has found a way to always increase their own budget and by extension their salaries and their allowances. So there is no need to try to defend this, because the senator couldn't have lied, and is somebody very experienced in legislative matters, having earlier been in the House of Reps and having worked as a legislative aide to former President Muhammadu Buhari. So you cannot say that Kawu Sumaila didn't know what he was saying or didn't know what he was doing. So that is that. When you look at the salaries or the take-home pay of the Nigerian senator in a year, it comes to 21 times 12 comes to 252 million naira a year. That is their take-home. The South African parliamentarian who does much more work than the Nigerian senator, because the South African parliamentarian is also a minister in his country, hence 1.2 million rand. That is averagely 4 times more than the average wage of the South African worker. The Nigerian senator, on his part, earns 252 million naira a year. On the average, or the average Nigerian worker earns about 3 million per annum, which means what the Nigerian senator earns is almost 100 times higher than what the average Nigerian worker earns. In 5 months, the Nigerian senator earns the annual salary of the South African parliament member, who is also a minister. So it's difficult to live with this reality and not expect that this has to change. Why should the Nigerian senator earn in 5 months what the South African parliamentarian, who doubles as a minister, earns in a whole year? So putting it mildly, this extortionate take-home pay of the Nigerian senator is unacceptable. And I keep asking, why have we as a country allowed this to happen? I know that during the Jonathan, shortly after former President Yaradua became seriously indisposed and incapable of exercising the functions of his office, the idea of bringing his deputy to come and play the role of the president was broached by many Nigerians. It became what was known as the doctrine of necessity. During that period, Nigerian federal lawmakers got into some form of agreement with Goodluck Jonathan that they will support him to become the acting president on condition that he allows them to have direct access to their budgeted funds. It hadn't always been like that. But the moment they began to have direct access to their budgeted funds, a lot changed. The senators became richer. The senators had greater access to money. And since that time, it has been impossible for the executive to impeach any Senate president.
Now, take a breath. So,
yes.
Yeah, you can see that you just need to take some water. Are you fine now?
Don't worry, we'll get over it.
That's
Now, many of us see South Africa as the richest country in Africa. South Africa's GDP per capita is twice our own. So there's no reason in the world for the Nigerian senator to earn twice what the South African parliamentarian has. When you look at the GDP per capita of South Africa. Let's look at Kenya. Let's look at what the monthly salary of the Kenyan lawmaker is $5,800 a month. That's about 90 million naira a year. whereas the Nigerian senator earns 252 million a year. Trying to see there is no basis for the lawmaker, the federal lawmaker in Kenya, to earn 90 million a year, whereas his Nigerian counterpart earns 252 million a year.
But some will want to argue that if you look at Kenya, Kenya does not have, the kind of population that we have. Kenya, doesn't have our population. Nigeria is more than 200 million. Kenya is somewhere around 20 million or thereabouts, if I'm correct. So they would say that what a Nigerian senator presides over, especially looking at the constituency, it calls for, maybe more money because of the constituency projects they would want to execute.
That is a very logical argument. It is not supposed to be determined by the size of the country or the size of the constituency. Bayelsa State has 8 local governments. The population of Bayelsa State is not up to the population of Kano Central. But the senators from both states earn the same amount of money. They earn the same salary. So I disagree that because our country is bigger, then we should be wasteful. There's no reason for our senators to earn as much as they earn. No reason in the world.
I guess Kenya's population is 52.
That is why Nigerians are outraged. When you see people on the streets protesting, they have every reason.
I think
because our leaders are behaving like nothing has changed.
BK, very
and
quickly,
a lot has changed.
Sorry to butt in. I want you to, take a breather. Let me just read some comments while you catch your breath, and then grab some cup of water so you can, have your voice, cleared out. Let me just take 1 or 2 comments here. We have Shehu Abdullahi Nda Kochida saying that, please allow me to send my question. Okay, that's what you're doing. I sincerely want the senators to please, for the sake of Almighty God, to take the whole world, or to tell the whole world how much their salary is with their monthly allowances. And then he put exclamation marks, in 3 forms. Promise Emmanuel says, good evening, BKO. Thank you so much on JH for always balancing your stories. Abayomi Olayoriju says, thanks, sir, for this very educative program. It's time to know what are the net pay for these National Assembly members, and is it possible to stop the bicameral system or unicameral system? I really do not get that, because what is written here is NI camera system. I guess what he's trying to say is bicameral, because that's what we practice in this country. Nelson Adefe says, congratulations, Prince BKO. And then we have more comments, coming in. TJ Associate says, right, BKO.
Paid on the continent. And I really do not know why. The Ghanaian parliament, parliamentarian, his gross pay is 29,000 Ghana cedis per month, which translates to 348,000 Ghana cedis per annum. If we check the Naira equivalent, that is 35 million Naira per annum. Remember, The senators are on 252 million per annum. 252 million naira per annum. The parliamentarian from Ghana is on 35 million naira per annum. The South African lawmaker, what he earns, our own senators, what he earns in a year, that is 1.2 million rand. Our senators earn it in just about 5 months. There's no way anyone can defend this. It takes a conscienceless person to defend what is going on. We are a poor country, although we deceive ourselves that we are rich. But you look at different parameters, you know that Nigerians are poor. And even the NBS came up with a report last year showing that about 170 million Nigerians were multidimensionally poor. Part of the excessive wages paid to these lawmakers can go into, can help deliver piped water across the the 6 geopolitical zones of our country. It can help us reduce even out of school children. It can help us fund education better. It can help us fund health better. It can help us fund, freshen up infrastructure in our country. We can't say Nigeria is poor. We can't be telling Nigerians that they need to sacrifice, that at this time there's a need to sacrifice when our lawmakers are earning this kind of money. And they still make a lot more money outside of this from the what's it called that they do? Oversight functions that they exercise over the ministries, departments, and agencies of government. They still earn a lot. So it calls for serious soul searching. I know that senator who came out to say that he earns 21 million a month.
Yeah.
Will eventually be punished. I will be shocked if they don't do anything to him. If I know them very well, in a matter of a few days, they'll be thinking of suspending him.
Absolutely. They'll look for some excuses. So let me quickly bring in this question, Biko. How do you think Nigerians can then demand greater transparency and accountability from their representatives, and what mechanisms do you think can be put in place to ensure that public office holders are held to the highest standards of integrity?
I can see that a lot of people are now asking for the constitution to be amended or rewritten entirely. A lot needs to change about the laws governing our country. There are too many loopholes through which the resources of our country are leaking. And I don't think that the present generation of leaders take transparency seriously. So we have to look at those laws that enable politicians to get away with blue murder. Those laws, such laws have to change so that we can better hold elected political leaders, so that we can better hold political leaders, elected political leaders accountable. At the local government level, we must hold them accountable. At state level, there's a need to hold them accountable so that they don't just continue to behave like no one can stop them and that they can get away with all kinds of criminalities in the name of running a country.
That's right. Let me take one or two comments. Ismail Akinkumi says, I don't think there is anything president can do about it because legislature is still the one that will make that amendment. Nelson Nadufe says, Prince BKO, take it easy on yourself, manage stress. And then he went on to ask a question, why has the senators been extorting, or why have the senators been extorting Nigeria and EFCC is looking the other way? Why can't Senate reduce their pay and make such salary publicly declared, or make public declaration of their salaries? Victor Patrick says, Uncle Jide, please, you are almost the only investigative journalist we can trust in Nigeria. Please help us investigate our refineries. The refineries belong to the masses. And so many other comments. But BKO, very quickly because of our time, in the light of the discrepancy between Senator Sumaila's disclosure and the RAMFAC chairman's statement, how do you think the Senate can regain the trust of Nigerians and demonstrate transparency in their financial dealings?
You know, recently the House of Reps decided that it was slashing the salary by 50%. They know that their salary amounts to nothing in the grand scheme of things. The devil, as I always say, is in the allowances. They agreed to to forfeit 50% of their salaries to government in line with cost-cutting initiatives that Nigerians have been asking for. Many Nigerians were happy. Although later on, we were told that, bureaucracy has made it difficult for the money they have elected to forfeit to actually be deducted from their wages. But that was a significant step. I believe that if this Senate wants to be in the good book of Nigerians, it has to commit to reducing this humongous pay that they receive every month. If they will come out to say, look, our wages are high, we are going to commit to 50% pay cut. Even if they do 30%, it will be a significant step that will make some people begin to see them as patriots, as people who realize the fact that Nigerians are going through a lot and they too are prepared to sacrifice just like Nigerians. But we have a National Assembly that voted tens of billions of naira to brand new jeeps. We have a National Assembly that earns humongous wages and have chosen to not let Nigerians even know what they are. If they are really, really transparent and accountable, they don't need to hide their pay. The president of the US, everyone knows his take-home pay. It's an open secret. So they should be accountable. They should let us know how much they earn. They should come clean about it and commit to a pay cut. If they would do that, Nigerians will forgive them. Nigerians will begin to see them as patriots and as good people. But if they fail to do that and are embarking on this half-hearted deniers, then Nigerians will see them as dishonest people, desperate to cover up the truth. And I don't think at the end of the day that it bodes well.
Right. So, in your opinion, very quickly, I would like you to, what you consider the consequences of such large discrepancies in the compensation structure of public office holders. How do you think this can impact the overall economy and the trust in government? Do you think Nigerians can ever trust the government due to some of the things that we're reading, especially coming from the National Assembly?
So there is a wide chasm between the Nigerian people and their leaders. There is a huge trust deficit. Things like this worsen the trust deficit. The discovery through a federal lawmaker that they earn 21 million a month, and rather than own up and say, look, in line with the difficult times that we are going through in our country, we commit to a pay cut. We've seen the president of Kenya, committed to a pay cut as soon as he got into office. Why is it difficult for our own leaders to try to cut significantly the cost of governance and even reduce their wages? We are not seeing that, and for that reason, many Nigerians do not trust people in government. They see them as bare-faced chiefs, feeding fat from the Commonwealth of our nation, feeding fat from taxpayers' money, and doing nothing to even show that they feel the pain that the rest of Nigerians are feeling. They are not showing any desire to sacrifice. Whereas they keep telling us that times like this require sacrifice on the part of every Nigerian.
That's right.
But they are disinterested in sacrifice. They want to continue to make money through the system. In the last budget that President Buhari prepared before he left office, the 2023 budget, the Senate added 59 billion. The National Assembly added 59 billion to their budget. And that's despite the fact that the president had already even added to their money. They went ahead to still add 59 billion.
Yeah.
From 2019, the budget of the National Assembly continued to go up. Every year, the executive will prepare the budget and add to the funds of the National Assembly. It went on like that until that final year, 2023, when they went ahead to add 59 billion to what President Buhari had approved. So that's to tell you that we have lawmakers who simply do not care about the rest of us. They want to make as much money as possible. They want to be as comfortable as they possibly can without thinking about the mood of the nation, without thinking about the hunger that stalks the land. This is not what we want to see.
That's
we can't keep living a lie as a country. We've been living a lie for so long. It has to stop. It has to stop. And I agree with those who believe that we do not really need two chambers of the National Assembly. I believe that one should be sufficient for us.
Yeah, that's right.
The president of Kenya fired the Senate. Today they have one house. I'll be happy if we can have just one chamber of the National Assembly. And even a sitting senator, Rochas Okorocha, made that suggestion that we didn't need to have two chambers, that one was sufficient for our country.
That's right. That's
Hopefully we'll get there someday. We don't need two chambers of National Assembly. One should be sufficient for us.
That is left for Nigerians to actually, demand and then clamor for some of this, this kind of change in the Nigerian political system. Well, and that's our show for today's edition of Issues with Jide. Special thanks to you, Babajide, Kolade-Otitoju, for those insightful analyses as always.
Thank you, Ibrahim. Thank you. We'll continue from where we start today, next week.
God willing. And thanks to you, to our audience, for keeping our company on every edition. You can see the program again anytime by subscribing to our YouTube channel, TVC News Nigeria. Click on the subscribe button to get the latest information. You can also follow us on our social media platforms at TVC News NG. I'm also at Ibrahim_Shita. On behalf of the rest of the team, I'm Ibrahim Shita. See you again next edition. Bye for now.